It's the Professional Bowlers Tour. And greetings, ladies and gentlemen, from New Orleans, Louisiana, live and in color. I'm Chris Schenkel, and we're hopeful that you'll stay with us for the next hour and a half because we have a tremendous championship coming up. It's our 12th stop in 13 cities that we make each year, and it's at the Pelican Lanes here in New Orleans. $45,000 in prize money, $6,000 to the winner today. And if we're fortunate enough to have a man bowl a perfect game or 300 game, we'll be glad to present him a check with $10,000. And also the Lincoln Mercury division of the Ford Motor Company, a fine Cougar. Okay, Billy, let's meet our 5 tournament leaders. They're down on the approaches, completing their practice throws in the $45,000 New Orleans Lions Club Open.
Right, Chris. The number 5 bowler, Butch Gearhart from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You saw him last year at Mobile. Going against the number 4 bowler, Dick Weber from St. Louis, Missouri, the all-time PBA leading money winner. The winner of that match will then meet Ski Feremski, El Paso, Texas. Showboat Invitational champion, Las Vegas, rolled 807 on television. The winner will then meet Jim Stefanich from Joliet, Illinois, 1968 Bowler of the Year. And the winner of that semifinal game will then meet Bill Allen, Fresno, California, tournament leader.
So there they are, the finalists of the $45,000 New Orleans Open Championship with Billy Allen in the top position, of course. He's the man to beat this afternoon. We'll be back for the start of the action live and in color on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
It was most interesting, Chris, as Jim Stefanich and Dick Weber moved into the final game and cracked the hold that the left-handers have had all week here on the top 5.
17-time champion Dick Weber has opened with a fine strike here at the Pelican Lanes in New Orleans. Now look at 24-year-old Butch Gearhart, 6-footer, 150 pounds. Won 2 titles, both in 1967 at Houston and Oklahoma City.
He's coming from that extreme edge. Normally throws a sharp breaking hook. However, he did not get it on that shot. The ball there hangs out. Watch. As it goes through, it's sharp at that point, catches the 2-pin and charges through the heart, takes them right out, leaves up the 1, 3, and 7.
All right. Back live now, Butch Gearhart, using practically the full approach. Wonderful conversion by Butch Gearhart. And he avoids an open frame, marking with a spare in the first to Dick Weber's strike. Now, Gearhart will move to that left lane. A few lefties around this week, Billy.
Certainly has been, Chris. It was a very difficult surface. Again, the boys couldn't play the hook ball at all. Had to be soft and slow and straight. But the left-handers have had an awful lot of room, and it looked like they were going to pretty well dominate the whole 16-man field.
And now Weber trying for a double in the very first game. Little mixing action there, and it's a double for Weber. And with a double, he leads by 10 pins. Three in a row.
That's the hardest that I've seen Weber throw all week, and one of the times in his career.
You saw his body English on our split screen. However, it would not knock down the 7-pin. Last year, Billy, Butch earned nearly $14,000 on the tour.
He's been performing admirably in recent weeks, too. Chris, he almost made the top 5 a couple of weeks ago. And near the end of the winter tour last year, he was on our telecast from Mobile.
Billy, it hardly seems possible that this is our 12th stop and 13 stops across the country. In other words, next week is our final for the current season with the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions, Akron, Ohio. Butch Gearhart now with a spare, a strike, spare strike. It is Weber who has 3 in a row, has a 20-pin lead as he tries to string 4. All right, 4 in a row.
Weber registered his concern with that shot. However, that good speed, I would almost refer to it as excessive speed. He's throwing that hard now to hold the track. Where someone does not have much hook and can be slower, Webb's ball finishing a little too much, he's really using that speed.
Let's see if the all-time money winner in professional bowling can make it 5 in a row. There it is. Dick Weber, the great champion, now has 5 strikes in a row in the very first game, live and in color from Pelican Lanes. Here's a great stop-action shot of Mr. Weber. And now Butch Gearhart, trailing by 40 pins, has a strike up in the 4th, shooting in the 5th frame. The winner of this championship will get $6,000, second $3,500, $2,000 for third, $1,800 for 4th, $1,600 for 5th. Spare for Butch Gearhart in the 5th frame. He's from Fort Lauderdale. And here in New Orleans, we're having beautiful weather. It's about 70 degrees outside, Billy. Makes you want to hesitate about going north, doesn't it?
It certainly does. However, of course, looking forward to the Firestone Tournament of Champions, and we hope Mr. Hathaway is with us next week.
Butch Gearhart finding some trouble, leaving the 1-3-6 on the left lane. Butch Gearhart with a spare in the 6th, and now up steps thin, yet muscular, Dick Weber. 6th frame. And after 5 straight strikes, string ends in the 6th frame, leaving the 4-6, Billy.
Yes, he didn't get away with it that time, Chris. Almost the same hit as in the 5th frame when he broke up the split. That time did not get away with it. Didn't seem, while the other one carried with good speed, that one seemed to be breaking sharper rather than having more forward speed.
So it's an open frame in the 6th for Weber, giving him 146 through 6, and his lead decreases from 43 pins to 29. With lots of speed, Weber starts again in the 7th frame, and with a 29-pin lead, the action will continue live and in color on the Professional Bowlers Tour. We're back at the Pelican Lanes in New Orleans, Louisiana. Butch Gearhart, trailing by 29 pins, is shooting in the 7th frame of the first game, meeting Dick Weber. Gearhart with a spare working. So for Butch, that's his 3rd strike thus far in this game against Dick Weber. Professional Bowlers Tour, to be followed by ABC's Wide World of Sports, which we'll discuss a little further later. Tomorrow on ABC, due to the death of former President Eisenhower, our regularly scheduled sports telecasts will not be seen. If a 5th game, however, is necessary in the Baltimore-New York Knickerbockers series, it will be shown live from Baltimore Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time.
Chris, after getting that strike, it was near a must, and he comes in light on the head pin. Sometimes here with a good mixing ball, that pin right there would come back and knock out the remaining, what we call the bucket or the basket, the triangular shape, 3, 5, 6, and 9. However, Butch didn't get that break. So for Gearhart,
gives him 137 through the 7th, spare up. Now it's Weber, who had an open frame after 5 in a row in the 6th frame, came back with a strike in the 7th, now shooting in the 8th. Like all 5 of our competitors today, they do have their respective fans, and in the background I'm sure you could hear the O's for those cheering for Dick, the fact that he left the 4-pin.
And speaking of the O's, Chris, it was unbelievable among the gallery last night as the field was so closely bunched. With each shot, with each succeeding frame, the top 5 were hanging in the balance, and 2 actually winding up in ties, having to have 2 playoffs. It was unheard of before in PBA Tour history.
Now it's Weber shooting in the 9th frame. The winner of this first game will go against Jim Stefanich. Dick didn't like that stroke at all.
No, he didn't, but he was very pleased with the result, getting away from the split. A split there would have opened the door for Butch Gearhart. Butch, if he strikes out, would bowl 217. If Weber marks, he would be in the 220s, so he really can't afford an open frame.
Dick Weber leading by 27 pins. As you see, Weber is the all-time money winner on the tour. If he can go all the way and get $6,000 as the champion here in New Orleans, he would go over the $300,000 mark. And Butch Gearhart hangs right in there with a strike in the 9th, Billy.
He certainly does. He does need 3 strikes in the 10th frame, though. If he can make them, he would score 217 and force Dick Weber to mark in the 10th frame.
A strike in the 10th frame for Butch Gearhart.
Still alive, Chris. To retain that life, he needs another one. Not necessarily like that, but all 10.
All right. 17 pins at one time. Dick Weber, as a result of 5 in a row, led by 43. But a disastrous open frame in the 6th for Dick started to cut the margin. Well, tough break for Butch Gearhart, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 24-year-older. Stepping off the approach, drying that hand.
Bizarre things sometimes happen. We often refer the player having to stay behind the foul line. Dick Weber does need to do that, but that is all.
3, 5, 6, 9, made by Butch Gearhart, and he has bowled a respectable 203 in this very first game against Dick Weber. So Gearhart watches Weber now. Powerful strike by Dick in the 10th frame, giving him 204 through the 9th, and that strike, of course, working in the 10th.
203, you referred to as very respectable, and that would have won many games on our telecast this year. In fact, only 3 or 4 weeks ago, Dick Ritger won the title game, scoring a 190. But here, it won't be enough. Dick Weber, bringing in that pin, would have 224.
Weber, now living in St. Louis, Missouri. And a few weeks ago, we interviewed Dick Jr., who was also on the tour. So a 224 for Dick Weber. In other words, a 21-pin victory for the 17-time PBA champion. So Weber moves a step closer to the first prize of $6,000.